A friend of mine asked me how I did my Elden Ring death counter, which you can see right there as I keep pointing to it. So I figured, why the hell not? So in this quick little tutorial, I'm going to show you how to do a basic death counter, something super simple. And then I'm going to show you how you can add sound effects if you want to add that. And then I'm going to show you something a little bit more complicated, like how I have my cycle extracts, where it'll show me, which is right down here now, how many times I've successfully extracted and how many times I've killed somebody. So the first thing you're going to want to do is go to the GitHub link that's in the description of the video. If you're not familiar with GitHub, this may seem a bit overwhelming, so I'll show you exactly where to go. First, if you'd like to read more about the application and some of its different features, you can scroll down and read down there. Where I want you to go is to the right sidebar where it says Releases. Your version number may differ depending on when you're actually downloading this file, but you'll want to click here. This will bring you to another page. Look for the area that says Assets and click on the dcsb.exe file. This will download the program. When it's done, you can install it just like any other program you've installed in the past. Once the program is installed, the first thing you want to do is go to the Settings tab. The first tab that should open up is the Keyboard tab. This is where you can override the key bindings to be wherever you want, but this is what I recommend you set them to for ease. I believe the program comes set this way as default, but for whatever reason, if it does not, or if you want to change them, you can simply press the 3 dots to the right and press whatever key binding it is you want to use. The two main important ones right now that we're going to focus on are the increment and the decrement. Increment is to increase the number on your counter, where decrement is to where you want to decrease the number. That's why increment is a plus and decrement is a minus. Once these key bindings are how you like them, click the little red X. The next step you need to take is to create a text document for the program to read from. The way this program works is that it reads and writes over a text document every time you increase or decrease the number. Let's open the Notepad program and save as on a blank document. I want you to navigate to where you wish to save your files and actually create a new folder and call it Counters. Let's open the folder and save the file in there. Now we can create our first counter. Under the Counters section, I want you to right-click in the area and click Add. In the name section, we'll type in Deaths. Then we'll click on the 3 dots next to File and navigate to where we saved our text file we just created and select it. For now, we'll leave all of the other options alone. When you've named it and selected the file, click on the red X. But believe it or not, you're actually almost done. So let's go into OBS. Let's go to the scene that you'd like to place in your death counter and add a new source. We're going to be adding a new text source. For this, we'll need to click on the Read from File box and then browse to our death counter file that we created moments ago. You can choose to format the text into any color or any font that you wish, and when you're done, you can select OK. So let's test if we did this right. Let's press the plus button, which is what we use to increase the number on the counter. Now there's typically a slight half-second delay from the time you press it to when it appears on the screen. So if it doesn't show up right away, no need to worry. Now if the number changes from a 0 to a 1, then congratulations, you did it right. But if it did not, there's a few things we can check on first to make sure that it will work. First, let's go back to the death counter program and double click on the counter in the program to sort of try to activate the counter. You can test it by pressing the plus button. This should have fixed the issue. However, if it does not, I recommend going into the settings and verifying that you're pressing the right button. If the key binding is correct, the last option I would recommend is to click on the Not Admin and then choose to run the program as an admin. If you wanted to say death counter before the amount of deaths, you can go into the DCSB software, right-click, and edit your counter. Go down to the formatting menu and type in deaths, or whatever you want it to say. This will keep it all under one source, but it's not always the best looking. So what if you want to have your counter look exactly how mine looks? Well, that's simple. Let's create a new text source in OBS and name it times died. Then simply in the text area write times died. And you can edit this however you want, whatever font color, whatever you want to do. Then place it in the scene wherever it is you want it. Then we'll take our death counter source underneath it. Boom. Easy peasy. Also, I do recommend putting these in a group source so that you can hide them and move them together without like trying to find different text sources within your scene, because that could be annoying. Lastly, you can set a sound to play every time you press the increment button. Let's add a new sound and name it death sound. We'll navigate to a file we have that we already had that we want to use. Then you can map the key binding to the same button that you used, is the increment button. Now, every time you die and you press plus, it'll play that sound. Now, personally, I choose not to have a sound and just leave the counter up and running, but this is all personal preference. If you want to have a sound, have at it, man. Oh, but Papa, how did you do the cycle counter? Oh, you mean that counter where I had the number of extracts and successful extracts and how many kills and all that? Yeah, that's actually not too bad either. First, let's save our current death counter as a preset. This way you can have multiple different presets for different games. Let's go to the settings and click on presets. In the title bar, you can name this after the game that you're counting for. For this, we'll say Elden Ring. Then, let's click on the little plus button to add a new preset. We'll name this one the cycle. Once you've created the preset, we can close out of the settings. Now, for my cycle extracts counter, I actually run 3 different counters at the same time. First, for the number of drops I've done, another for the number of successful extracts, then another for the amount of kills I've gotten. Let's create 3 new blank text documents in Notepad and save them in our counters folder. I like to name them first as the game and then what it's actually counting. I also recommend putting them in the order you'd be tallying them up at the end. For this, we'll need to know the drops counter first, then the evacs counter, then lastly the kill counter. And we'll be creating those counters in that order. Now, do you remember the keyboard command for next and previous? Well, that's what we'll be using for these while we are in the game. Next will be page down and previous will be page up. You can see when I start on the drops, it kind of a little bit gray. Now if I press page down, that will go to the next one down, and now that one's gray. This is just indicating which counter you're on. The counter that is active is the one that will be added to or subtracted from. In order to format these, I recommend going into your drops and formatting it to have a little slash before it. You'll see why when we enter them into OBS. Now let's go ahead and add the 3 counters into OBS the same way we did with the death counter. But for these, I'll add a title for successful drops and one for kills. Make sure you stay organized and keep each counter source named properly. Again, I recommend to group the sources together so you can easily hide, move, format, or whatever. And it's that easy. You have all of the tools now to do a death counter, an extract counter, a kills counter, whatever it is that you want to count, you can do it. And if you want to have sounds, you can do it too. And hey, by the way, you can also use that as just the soundboard too. So have at it. And if you'd like to see any other streaming tutorials on things that you might want to learn how to do, just leave a comment below and I'll put one together for you. I have no issues with that. I want to help out everybody as much as I can, because I know that's how I learned, by just watching a crap ton of YouTube videos. And if you want to see more content like this, or hopefully better, you know, please like the video, comment, subscribe, all that same old crap you get from all the other videos. But your support really does mean a lot to me. So again, I appreciate it. Till next time, Papa out.